Hello and welcome. You're watching Mint Wide Angle and I'm Anindya Chakravarti. My question today is, can a riot really take place if cops get serious and don't let it happen? Pick up today's newspaper or go to any news site, read tweets by reporters who are on ground zero of the riots in Delhi, and you will find one thing in common. The police just didn't do enough to stop the violence. You don't really have to depend on eyewitnesses or news reports to know that. There are enough videos out there on social media, authenticated videos that will tell you how cops either stood around while ghouls pelted stones and roamed about openly with lathis and weapons, or in some cases, the police actively helped the mobs. This morning's papers tell us that in the riot-hit areas of northeast Delhi, policemen stood and watched as young men prepared for rioting. They were collecting metal rods, breaking bricks into smaller pieces so that they could pelt them later on, and they were telling reporters that they're getting ready to attack. All this was going on in full public view, right in front of cops. In other places, young armed men, some wearing motorcycle helmets or handkerchiefs to cover their faces, were gathering, chanting provocative slogans, getting ready to riot. Again, this was happening in front of journalists and also right in front of cops who did absolutely nothing. In Gokulpuri, the tire market had been set on fire right next to the main police station, and there were no cops to be seen around. In the same area, within 100 meters of that police station, a cemetery was vandalized in the presence of a reporter. She saw a cop on a bike pass her by and not stop to do anything. In fact, the goons told the reporter that the cops are with them and threatened her that if she tries to take a video of what they were doing, they would bury her in that same graveyard. There are numerous such stories, all of which tell you that the cops did nothing, partly because they were outnumbered and also because they had orders to not take any tough coercive action. And of course, there are stories of exemplary valor, like that of Head Constable Neeraj Dahiya, who stared down a goon who was pointing a gun directly at him, and we all saw that on video. And cops are equally victims of these riots. Hundreds of policemen have been injured, and one of them, Police Constable Ratan Lal, died of head injuries that he got when a mob pelted stones at him. It is also true that the Bhajanpura, Maujpura neighborhood are thickly populated, where Hindus and Muslims live cheek by jowl. The lanes and by-lanes are narrow, and it is pretty difficult for the police to enter and try to pacify an angry crowd. But that's what the Delhi police is there for, right? It was the police's job to stop what has happened over the past few days, and there can be no doubt that the Delhi police has failed. Take the case of giving safe passage to ambulances. The Delhi High Court had to hold a special session past midnight and direct the Delhi police to ensure that injured people could be safely moved to bigger hospitals where they could get better treatment. And as the court order shows, it was arranged by the police right then, while the court hearing was on. So, the Delhi police can move fast when it wants to or when it has an order to do so. So, the Delhi riots could last so long because the police didn't act soon enough, didn't put enough boots on the ground in the areas where it mattered, and didn't have any plan to deal with what was happening. I mean, look at the numbers. Delhi has more than 75,000 policemen, and the Delhi police has itself said that that's enough to deal with the current situation. And that's true. It is a large enough number, large enough size to be able to control 4 or 5 residential clusters where the riots have taken place, as long as the forces are mobilized properly. And it wasn't as if the cops didn't know what was happening. All reports and video evidence tells us that there were cops on the ground where armed men were collecting and then marching off with sticks, bricks and stones. So there were policemen everywhere who could have and probably did send back information to their control rooms about what was happening. There are hundreds of CCTV cameras too in Delhi now to be able to monitor and track the movement of such armed mobs. Was there anyone listening? Was anyone tracking the CCTV feeds? Was there anyone marshalling the troops, giving orders, showing leadership? Or was everyone worried that if they took firm action and their political bosses didn't like it, they would end up being transferred or suspended? There is growing evidence, both from journalists who were eyewitnesses and from videos on social media, that in many places, police actively participated in the violence, throwing stones, escorting rioters to their destination, and even making communal comments on video. We also know that in many cases, rioters have boasted to reporters and also posted videos on social media that the police are with them and are backing them. Now, this is not new. It happens in every communal riot, and it is probably to be expected as well. Quite often, cops come from the same background as the people they're policing, so they find it very hard to not take sides when they're caught in an emotionally charged situation. Something similar happened in the anti-Sikh pogrom of 1984 after the assassination of Indira Gandhi. Eyewitnesses tell us how policemen actively participated in the rioting and in some cases vacated neighborhoods to give a free rein to goons to come and kill and rape people. A citizen's fact-finding report from that time tells us how the police even played a role in spreading rumors. There was evidence that policemen had gone about on vans announcing on loudspeakers that Sikhs had poisoned Delhi's water supply and that trains from Punjab were reaching Old Delhi railway station with hundreds of bodies of murdered Hindus. These rumors, which turned out to be entirely false, played a big role in inciting people and creating an atmosphere of hatred against Sikhs at that time. Finally, after 4 days of murder and loot, the army was brought in. Because not only was the Delhi police unable to deal with the mobs, it was actively participating in the violence. There are reports of collusion between rioters and cops this time too, but not to that organized extent as it was in 1984. When eyewitnesses said well-known netas of the ruling Congress party had led mobs and targeted Sikhs in the presence of cops. Of course, we all have to be a little careful that we don't end up making the Delhi police a scapegoat for the lack of political will or even the open incitement to violence by some politicians. The police across the history of independent India have done what their political bosses have told them to do. If there's been police inaction in Delhi, the blame must also be shared by the government, which has let things slide for so long.